Listen and validate always and normalise. That's so important. What you're going through is okay and it happens. And encourage and reassure. Lots of people can go through lonely times. Lots of people can go through times when they don't fit in. It doesn't make you a bad person. You are not broken.
Hello, I'm Dr Jodi Richardson, and you're listening to Well, Hello Anxiety, a podcast where we end the struggle with anxiety and build our toolkit of practical skills to thrive. Friendships and fitting in can be such a source of anxiety for young people and their parents and their teachers. And it can be a difficulty for older people as well, for adults, when it comes to social anxiety. And I have a different episode dedicated to that. But today we are talking with the wonderful Sheri McDonald. She is our guest today, who is going to talk to us about what schools and what parents and families are seeing, what young people are experiencing when it comes to friendships, fitting in, and the challenges that can come with that. Her experience extends across her clinical work with lit therapy in WA, as well as with young people as the camp psychologist for the Zero to Hero camps for young people. And that's where Sherri and I met when I was in Perth back in August. We met as Sherri was the psychologist present for the In Your Head conference, where we had, I think, Sherri, it was 600 to 700 students, didn't we, at that event?
I think it was more than that, actually, Jodi. I think it was their largest attendance this year. It was about 950 from memory.
Oh, goodness me. Oh, I'm glad I didn't know that when I was going on stage. Yes, we met. We were so lucky to connect at that event, and Sherri was present because at these conferences, some topics, some ideas, some presentations may be a little bit triggering for some young people. And so, as well as mental health first aiders, Sherri's there to be able to talk to young people if they need that support while they're at the conference. So her wonderful work is with young people at risk of dropping out of their education, as well as with teens and tweens struggling with anxiety, depression, anger management, self-esteem, school refusal, and of course, friendships. So welcome, Sherri. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It's quite an honour, and I'm channeling my own anxiety management right now.
Oh, look, it's really lovely that you're able to share that with us and be open to the fact that anxiety is just so human, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. It's something we have in common with everyone else on the planet. We all experience it at some point in our lives.
We do. And thank you for saying yes, despite the fact that being on a podcast is causing your anxiety to bubble up more than it would perhaps if you were face-to-face in a conversation with me like we were in Perth back in August. So I really applaud you, and you really are practicing what it is that you share widely with your work, is that you can have anxiety and you can still step forward and do the things that matter. So I'm extra grateful to you for that.
Thank you again. So I'm really looking forward to today, and I feel very safe and in good hands.
Oh, look, thank you. I felt that way when we met, and I just let the audience know that when I travelled over to Perth to be involved in this incredible conference, if you're in WA or you're in any other part of the country or overseas, the In Your Head conference it's like a school excursion mental health conference all rolled into one. So busloads of young people from schools all over the state make their way into the event, and it was at the Perth Exhibition Centre. And I was anxious because I was the opening keynote. And not only that, I was taking the stage that evening with Maggie Dent and Claire Orange. So my anxiety was high, and Sherri was just such a grounding presence and just such a lovely, calming connection for me. And it was really reassuring, Sherri, and I appreciate the fact that after I got off stage the first time, you just basically gave me like a huge smile and a real reassurance that I'd kind of hit the mark with what I was doing, and that was something that helped reduce my post-event reflection.
I'm really pleased to hear that. Like I said to you before, Jodi, I was really impressed with what you said, and I think you held the stage and you owned it, and the young people and students appeared to respond to that. And I believe that you deserve to hear that feedback.
Oh, thank you. We all need that every now and again, don't we? Just a little bit of reassurance that we're doing a good job. So you gave it to me and I was very grateful. And yes, again, thank you for being here with us today to talk about this really important topic. And I wonder if we could start with, what are you seeing with the young people you're working with in terms of friendships fitting in and how they're travelling?
Friendships are tricky, and that certainly it underpins a lot of the presentations that I see in terms of, and primarily females, girls who struggle trying to fit in and find their tribe and find their people, and it really exacerbates their anxiety to the point where sometimes they don't want to go to school and they're unable to concentrate on their schoolwork and kind of regulate their emotions. So it does have significant impacts. So what I see a lot of, Jodi, is primarily around the, leading from the end of primary school into high school particularly. So from year 6 to 7, where students go from being, especially in the primary schools that finish there and they're not a K-12 school, they're the big fish in a small pond, and then they go and it's the other way around, and then it's like very overwhelming. So young people often report that they don't know where to go. They feel a bit aimless and they try and find their people, and it's not so easy. And then it impacts their self-esteem, and they don't, that sense of identity. They're trying to form their identity at this age, of this period of adolescence. So it's really difficult. So that's generally what I see, that trying to fit in. So those groups, that like-mindedness, what's kind of standing out for me that I can kind of add to a friendship, and those sorts of things. So that's it kind of in a nutshell, that just trying to tread water and find my way and that sort of thing.
Oh, gosh. And it is hard. It is a particularly challenging time. And it seems to be, like you said, from a parent's point of view, with a 12-year-old girl who's about to go into high school next year. We're recording this in November 2022. Yes, I didn't see these challenges with our son, who's in year 8. And it seems to be a thing among girls that makes it extra challenging. And there's a lot of exclusion and rejection. And how does that impact on their identity? What happens internally for young people when they are struggling with a friendship or with their friendship circle?
Well, they can question themselves, and it's difficult because at that age they don't actually really know what it is that they may even stand for and what it is that is important to them. We're all social creatures, aren't we? So we just want to fit in. We want to have people around us that that want to spend time with us. And if that doesn't come naturally, then young people can have a lot of pressure on themselves trying to fit in, to try and absorb what's going on around them, and to try and adopt and change their personality. And that can be really stressful. I hear from many of my teenage female clients, I don't know how to act. I don't know what they want from me. And that's sad. And like you said before, it is really challenging. It just adds that different layer of complexity, and they have to try and navigate through this really difficult time. What's wrong with me? Am I broken? So those impacts then on self-esteem, and sadness. It can be serious, and it can lead to other mental health problems. But I just think it just is just difficult generally, and as adults, it can be hard when we don't fit in, or we may perceive that people don't like us, and we ask ourselves those questions, what have I done? What's wrong with me? So you can imagine in a young person whose brain isn't fully developed, isn't fully mature, what that can do and how difficult that can be.
Yes. And when I think about it, and it's not my area of expertise at all, but I think about it from a couple of perspectives. And I think about those young people that have really great social skills, and they are learnable skills, and we can talk about that. And what you said at the start was relationships are tricky. If we stop and think about and I don't mean to make people listening anxious, but when we do think about relationships and friendships, there's the verbals, there's the non-verbals, there's the listening, paying attention, responding, taking turns, sharing, not oversharing, asking questions, but not the Spanish Inquisition, the nuances of conversation. When we break it down, it's not straightforward, and it does take time to learn, and we don't always get it right. And that's not what we should be aiming for, is perfection when it comes to these things. It's about connection. But I think about young people who have really well developed social skills, who can struggle as friendship circles move and change and the dynamics shift. And then I think about the young people who might be a little bit socially anxious, might sort of struggle a little bit in social situations, who are not only trying to find their way, but also trying to develop these skills as they go. And what are you seeing in your clinic when it comes to these kind of two groups?
Yes, it's really hard. A lot of social anxiety, that idea that, that perception that I'm going to be judged and scrutinized, can really impede forming friendships, especially that shy. And it's a bit more than just being shy. It's this real fear, that real anxiety of, if I try this, then it's not going to be received well. They're going to think I'm ugly or weird or stupid, and all this negative self-talk. So that can really interfere in forming relationships with peers, and therefore they can be very withdrawn and avoidant. And then the high school experience or even primary school experience can just be quite negative and difficult. So for those that are socially confident, then that's great. Then they can go out and they can try and make friendships. And it's just sometimes water off a duck's back. If they don't fit in, they can go to a different group and see if they're liked or if they have things in common. So they might bounce back more easily. But they can still internalise and go, oh, it's really difficult and hard. But that ability, what we call, that resilience, it's like, oh, okay, well, these aren't my people. I can't really relate to them, or they don't really have anything in common with me. I'll just go over here and see if there are other people in my year group or my peers that I can relate to. So those that are more socially confident and have those communication skills and can read a room or, look at those cues, may be better equipped to cope with rejection or not fitting in, as opposed to those that are socially anxious, that just have that really critical lens that they have for themselves.
Yes, and that's so internal. It's so private, isn't it? And so for us as adults with young people who might be experiencing those challenges, or teachers in classrooms, that's what I'm seeing and hearing across my work in schools, is that friendship is a big challenge for a lot of kids at the moment, especially in those states like ours here in Victoria and in Sydney, particularly where we had big lockdowns, where those natural skills of interpersonal relationship skills develop over time just with constant interaction. Those opportunities were lost there for a long time for a lot of children. And some children were like, so happy to be home and not at school in that stressful environment, but equally not developing the skills that are so helpful. As you were talking, I was thinking about some of the things I might say to our daughter when it comes to friendship challenges. And you know how as adults we've got this different perspective. We can see where it's not the right fit, or we can see where values are going in different directions amongst friends, and where we can see, oh, I think you'd fit better here, but they still want to fit back here. And kind of trying to make that decision as to how long do I stay, how hard do I try, versus when do I make that change and go in a different direction and try something new. What do you say to young people who are sort of bridging that kind of gap between two camps, the new friends that might just be exactly their people, their tribe, and the old friends that are growing up and becoming different young people, and there might not be that inclusion that once was there?
I like to think of it as, you can be friends with someone, you can also be friendly, and you don't have to have them as your close friends. People do change, likes change, interests change as we grow older and we meet different people. So I think it's okay that if you had a core group of friends and you can still be friendly with them, but if you've changed and you've got new likes, or you've got a connection or you're forming a connection with other like-minded people, that's okay. So I think, first of all, it's not wrong. You're not a bad person because you're no longer friends with your former group. And I know sometimes, and I have heard it's, oh, they don't like me anymore because I've got new friends, and they feel torn. And I see that a lot as well in terms of my teenage clients that are like, well, I've got this real struggle here. I've got this struggle between my old friends and I still like them, but I'm going in this direction. And they don't know how to navigate that. They don't know quite what to do. And what I say in those instances, Jodi, is that's okay, first and foremost, to validate that. It's okay. You're not going to have all the answers, and you can't control how they're going to respond to you. But ultimately, it should be about, no one has the right to tell you who you can and cannot be friends with, first of all. It's really important to have that respect. You want to be around people who listen to you and respect you and can be supportive and can make you smile and laugh and all those things, and you can have fun with, especially as a young person. So if you can have that with old friends and new friends, that's great. But I know that it's hard. You can't spend equal amounts of time in those situations, right? So it's about, ultimately, I believe, deciding what is important to you, in terms of your values. You can be friends and friendly with different people. Have lots of different friends. You don't have to have all your eggs in one basket, so to speak.
Yes.
You can have friends that you like hanging out with because you might have sport in common, or you might have other friends that you're like, oh yeah, I really like, you do drama or any other hobby or pursuit. So I think that's really important. You just don't have to have one group of friends and stick to one group of friends.
Oh, I love that you've said that. And it's something that I don't know where I learned this as a new parent when, years ago when the kids were little. I remember reading something or hearing a very wise person like yourself say a similar thing. It's not work to help your kids develop a broad range of friendships, but we have to be willing to say yes to driving them, having kids over, meeting new parents and expanding our own circle as well, which is hard for some parents. And to help their kids move into new circles means adults moving into new circles as well. But I've always been really firm on the idea that when our children can have, our daughter, for example, she'll have singing, basketball, school, and our son will have cricket, footy, and school. And that way, when something goes south with one group, they've got other young people that they can turn to who can lift them up, they can connect with, and they can sort of keep forging ahead with building that strong sense of self and not feeling like they're completely on the outside.
I agree, absolutely. And you said there, lift them up. And that's, the more people you can be around that can do that is so good for your self-esteem. Friendships are really important protective factors. So, how they can make us feel about ourselves and our well-being and our mental health. So if you've got effectively more options and different friendship circles, then that can be really positive. And you learn different
Yes.
things as well, and how you interact and how you relate, and all those important life skills, right, that can come from friendships, and that's why relationships are tricky, because they mean a lot. And as social creatures, whether you're introverted or not, or really shy or don't like going out, we still have to interact with other people. So we learn a lot from friends. And I'd like to think that, you want to choose people that you can learn positive things from. And on that, it's really important, Jodi. I see my clients also say, oh, but we had a fight, so I can't be in that group anymore. And I say, but conflict is a normal part of relationships as well, and learning how to resolve conflict and work through, and disagreements. We all have, whether you're a child or a teenager or an adult. So working through that and problem solving is really important. So, it's, young people don't have that ability necessarily. They don't like, that makes them feel uncomfortable. It can make them feel anxious. Oh, we had a fight. They're not going to like me. I don't know what to do. I'm going to leave. I don't fit in. Or fighting doesn't equal not fitting in. Okay, so
Yes.
having a disagreement, a difference of opinion is healthy. It doesn't
Yes.
always, it's not always harmful. And I'm not talking about bullying here. That's another issue. That's a serious issue. But I'm just talking about
Yes.
disagreements and a difference of opinion. Oh, I like that
Yes.
outfit and someone else likes the other outfit. Oh, I like this type of music and I like that type of music. That's okay. You know,
Yes.
we should embrace difference and diversity. And so a lot of the time I listen to my clients and I go, you know what, it's okay to be different. In fact, it's great, you know, celebrate that, be okay with it. And if you're with people that you're trying really hard to convince them to like you because of this difference, then that's a question you've got to ask yourself. Are you liking yourself being and having to try so hard to fit in with this group of people?
Yes. And that can take a little while for a young person to arrive at that conclusion, can't it? And
That's
whereas the
right.
adults around them might say to each other or, even to their child, I can see this looks like a great direction to go, but we really have to kind of let our kids walk these pathways, don't we? And
So
experience these
important.
challenges as much as we want to fix it.
And we can't always fix it. That's right. But all we can do is be present and listen and be available and encourage them to reach out if they're struggling. So I always encourage that too at schools, you know, student services, school counselors, psychologists, teachers, homeroom, you know, those sorts of things, parents. It's really important for young people if they're struggling to reach out. But there's not always going to be an easy solution. And our role as parents and teachers is to go, you know what? You've got this. And if you don't, that's okay. We can help guide you. You're not always going to have the answers. You're just not. Okay. You're a young
No.
person and you're still part of going through all this is that you're learning really important skills about, you know, what to do when you're older and how to have those quality key connections with people. So yeah, as parents, it's really hard because I talk about our pause button. You know, we've got to press our pause button and go, yeah, I can't go in and fix it for you. I really do like this person and these girls or boys they appear to have these really good values and I like their parents, but this is ultimately your journey. You're the one going to school. You're the one that has to spend time with them in class and at recess and lunch or doing hobbies and sport or extracurricular activities. So our role I see is to kind of equip them or to guide them, you know, to kind of go, you know,
Yes.
what's important to you? Are you being your authentic self? And I know that can be a big word for young people, but what do you stand for? What's important to you? What matters to you? Are you doing what matters? Do you like yourself when you're with these people? And I think that's a really good question. Are you being
Yes.
yourself? Do you like yourself? And if you're not, and if you're unsure, then go and try some other friends. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes, it's right. And as much as the transition from primary school to high school, as you were saying, if it's not a K to 12 school, if you're going into a different school environment, as much as it does provoke anxiety, young people are looking ahead at this time of the year and thinking, what's it going to be like? How am I going to fit in? Am I going to find my feet? Am I going to find my classroom? Am
Mhm.
I going to connect with people from primary school? Am I going to be in class with them or am I going to meet new people? But it's as much as it can be an overwhelming set of thoughts and what ifs and that sort of anxious future thinking, it's a beautiful opportunity to start fresh
Mhm.
and meet some like minded new people and shift gears a little bit if that's something that you think might be useful amongst your friends.
Yeah, that's right. And also that encouraging that self-talk. I don't have to have all the answers right away. I might not get it right quickly because it is a journey and you do have to try and you don't know. And what's in your control? I like to tell young people, you know, because when they get anxious, that thought playlist is on repeat and it's really loud and it goes on and it's like, oh, I'm a bad friend, no one likes me, all that negative self-talk. So I like to say, well, what's in your control? You can control whether you go up to someone and say hi or whether you like or follow someone on socials because we know a lot of friendships are formed and maintained on socials. And that connection, and particularly you said before, Jodi, especially over in the eastern states where you had long periods of lockdown, that was the only way that students could connect, because you couldn't go and hang out at the park or go to someone's house or movie shopping centres and things. So we were a bit more protected over here in WA because of our hard border. So children went out of school for long periods. But still, there's still a lot on social media around friendships and Snapchat and Insta and likes and following. But you can certainly, in a healthy way, follow someone and kind of go, oh, I like that. So I might like it and they might see that, and that might be a mutual point of interest. These sorts of things are important. You can control that. You can control whether you smile at someone or not, or you say, oh, hey, do you want to hang out, or can we catch up, or what do you like doing? I like that sort of thing too. So communication is important. That's in your control. You can't control whether someone responds to you, and that can hurt. And yes, and that's what can fuel all the negative thoughts and things like that. But you can go, oh, okay, well, I can just say to myself that, you know what, I tried, and that's okay. And it hurts and I'm a bit upset, but I'm not going to let it bother me for the long term. I can go and try and get to know other people.
Yes.
So that's it, and that's in their control. And it's just reminding young people that they forget that sometimes.
It is. It's such a grounding way of thinking. And I love sharing the FACE acronym, the focus on what you can control, acknowledge thoughts and feelings, come back into your body, engage in what is important. And it's just even that first step, focus on what's in your control, brings your attention back, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I love the work of Martin Seligman. He wrote The Optimistic Child. And one of the ways that we can help young people frame what their experience is helping them to recognize that it's not always personal. Can you add to this line of thought around the idea that we can teach our young people that that person might not have responded, and that, they might not have answered you, and that the person that reached out might feel like, well, they don't like me, they don't want to know me, they're ignoring me, I'm unlovable, and have a sort of a negative spiral of anxious thinking, versus recognizing that they might not have heard me. They might be really shy. They might be feeling terribly anxious. Something might have happened that's gone wrong. And that sort of external reframe that it's not necessarily about me. It could just as likely be about them and their stuff.
Mm-hmm. And that's absolutely right. It's often when we're in that headspace, when we feel that things haven't gone our way, our default may be, oh, it's about me. What have I done? And it does take learning. That's a strategy to learn. Oh, hang on a minute. Something else could be going on for them, or they may not have understood me. And everyone has their own lens and their own perspective. When you're a young person, it's difficult to think like that in the moment. The emotions,
yes.
Remember, so we're very much, the amygdala rules, right? So, the prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed, that thinking cap, so that doesn't happen till about mid-20s. So it's very understandable that students are very much operating in their emotional brain. So, and that's why they feel all that, the hurt and where it's about, hang on, let's pause and kind of go, well, what else could be going on here? And it's okay. I can understand why it makes sense that you took that personally, but there might be another explanation. What do you think about that? Oh, yeah, maybe, or yeah, you're right, maybe that is. And it doesn't always come quickly. Sometimes it doesn't come, but you can kind of plant that seed. And that's what I believe the role is, certainly what I do in my job, because essentially my job is just listening and validating their experience and their emotion and their struggle, and helping parents understand as well what's going on for their children at the moment, because I have my professional hat and my parent hat of a 12-year-old who's going into high school next year, and it's those fears that come about, and sometimes we forget what it was like to be 12.
Yes.
And it's like, oh yes, that's right, and all those, it is really difficult, and there are different pressures now, primarily around us being in a digital era and things like that, which we didn't have, of course, all those years ago. So that adds a different layer of complexity. But parents can understand and go, yeah, right. So we just need to still be there, be present and nurture and listen and go, you know what, it's okay for you to be fearful and to think that it might be about you and that they may not like you, but they might be struggling as well, because that is something that everyone has in common. We all experience stress and we all struggle. It may look differently and the degree is different, but it is still there nonetheless. And sometimes it helps young people to know that that's part of the human condition and they have that in common with their peers. They're not alone in this. And it's okay to be lonely. Everyone's lonely at times, but that doesn't last forever. And that's how I like to, tell young people that it's okay to feel like this way. Now, what can we do to help improve it? Because guess what? You won't feel like this forever. I know it seems that way, okay, but what can we do to help you get along, to hang in there, right? This friendship journey is important. You will find your people, you'll find your tribe. It's not about how many, it's about that journey, because having good quality friendships and relationships is what matters, and that can be a value. That can be that value, so to strive for that.
Yes. What you've just said has just reminded me of the optimistic child. The 3 Ps was what I was trying to think about before. And you've just, so in fact, I want to add a 4th based on what you said, because P for pause, that could be our first one.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second P is it's not necessarily personal. And of course, there is sometimes, we know as adults, sometimes it might be personal in the fact that we as adults, we don't love and want to be best friends with everybody we meet, and everyone we meet doesn't want to love and be best friends with us either. And so sometimes it's just not personal, it's just personalities. But just the fact that the idea of if we can help kind of model for kids this idea that it's not always personal, it's certainly not pervasive. It might be with one group or one friend in one group, but then hopefully there's another friendship group somewhere else and other friends within that same group, and that it's not permanent. And I think that these ideas that you're sharing align so beautifully with that reading that I've done quite some time ago now. But it's just helping our young people get that perspective whilst also really validating how hard it is for them.
And that is spot on, Jodi. Absolutely validating and not permanent, because young people are very much in the now. This era of the instant gratification, we talk about, how many likes have I got, how many follows and things like that. So, if someone doesn't like me, well, then it's catastrophic and it's kind of the end of the world stuff and it's horrible and I've got to change myself because I'm desperate to fit in. But popularity is fleeting. Right. So what is important, and I think for teaching our young people at an early age, is what type of person do you want to be? What's important to you? Who do you want to be when you're around others? I keep coming back to that, because that is something that is unique to you, and your value system may be different to others. So it's about finding people that you have that in common with, your strengths, someone that will encourage you and support your strengths. But also it's okay, and I said before, to be different, because we can embrace difference. And that's also teaching our children and our students that their feelings matter and that's okay, and that it's okay to be different, but that kindness and care and compassion and respect. So even if they try to forge a friendship and they're not getting what they need, for them to have that confidence and that esteem to kind of go, yep, I don't like that feeling and I'm a bit hurt and upset, but that's okay, because they're just not my people, but I can feel comfortable with who I am, and I can go and try and make other friendships and find other people that I can hang out with and that I will like to be with.
That's such a powerful question, and it's one I'm going to really adopt, because at the end of the day, we want our young people, we want our kids to be authentically themselves and not to have to sort of shape and mold and squeeze themselves into some sort of ideal that they think is going to be accepted in their friendship groups. And so just even that awareness of, can you be yourself around these people, these friends, is just that awareness of, can you be yourself around your friends, is a real sort of light bulb moment. And whilst the light bulb might not go off straight away, if it's a seed that's planted and it keeps growing, eventually the light bulb will turn on and the young person will be able to go, hey, actually the answer to that question is no, I can't. And then there's that intrinsic kind of motivation to maybe head in a different direction. For parents who are listening, or teachers who are listening, who have tweens and teens in their care who are really struggling, what sort of advice would you share?
Well, I think first and foremost, it comes back like I would do in therapy as a clinician is listen and validate always and normalize. That's so important. What you're going through is okay and it happens. And encourage and reassure. Lots of people can go through lonely times. Lots of people can go through times when they don't fit in. It doesn't make you a bad person. You are not broken. You know, I have when young people come and see me at the first session and, you know, we start and they might have anxiety and I say, yeah, that's okay. You're not broken. I can experience anxiety, but that normalizing is super important. So I think that is okay. It's okay not to fit in. You're not going to fit in with everyone. Okay. So it's okay to have times when you're lonely. It's okay to struggle a bit with that, but we're here for you. What matters is kindness and care and compassion and respect and those important things that we need to have important social connections, interpersonal relationships. Those are the things that matter. Okay. Always reach out, you know, saying, I can see that you're hurting right now. And it does suck. It really does. It sucks a lot.
Yeah.
It's really crappy. Okay.
Yeah.
I really want you to know that. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to have a little bit of negative self-talk. Not a lot and not for it to be so serious, but yeah, because you might question yourself and it might look like, oh, I don't like who I am because I'm trying so hard to fit in, or it might be, oh, I wish I was more like that person. You may wish that, but how much energy do you want to put into trying to change yourself? Because that's exhausting, you know. So it's about reminding students, I think, as well, that they have a lot to offer, that they are valued and they have strengths. So that self-esteem, that positive, a lot of positive self-regard, you know, for parents and teachers. And, you know, when we spoke yesterday, Jodi, and we talked about the difficult job teachers have, you know, in terms of having to support their students going through these difficult times, because friendship difficulties, friendship cyclones, drama cyclones can significantly interfere in their learning. And therefore, you know, teachers are there having to deliver the curriculum and teach students, and they're having to navigate all this mental health issues and friendship things in the background. And it's so complicated and it's interrelated and correlates so highly. So I really have a lot of respect and admiration for teachers who really need to know or really have to try hard to kind of go, you know what, it is difficult. So, you know, but we're here, and I know schools, you know, they're throwing a lot around, you know, mental health resources and supports and things, which is terrific. But definitely for parents, encourage different friendships. Let them know that you can be friends and friendly with lots of people. You can be friendly with lots of people, but they're not the people that you have to hang out with all the time and that you have to share your deepest secrets with. Okay.
Yes.
So be friends. Look for friends outside of school, you know, hobbies, sports, extracurricular things, extracurricular activities are important. And parents and teachers can model that behaviour as well, you know, having their own social connections and friendships and how they relate, because young people can be like sponges and they look, you know, primarily around, you know, if they're around in their family environment, well, how do my parents interact with adults and what are they doing? What do they have in common with their friends? And what do you think about that? That's important, isn't it?
Yes. Oh my goodness. I love that you've gone in this direction, because not only can we do that, and this isn't something that I've done because I talk about coping out loud, and I've never sort of verbalize so much around my friendships. I have a diverse group of friends, but, you know, every now and again, something will happen. There'll be a miscommunication or something goes wrong. And what beautiful role modeling if as parents or as teachers even, we can kind of talk these things through, you know, with our kids, say, oh, gosh, it was such a mix up today. I was supposed to meet so-and-so for a coffee and they didn't turn up because I had the wrong date and it was so frustrating. And just sort of talk through the challenge and the, you know, the things that happen that are natural in every relationship, whether it's something that's fairly on the minus sort of end of the scale, like not getting our dates and times right, through to having a disagreement about something.
Mm.
And not that we have to peel back the curtain on everything, but share with our kids that whilst it might appear on the surface that as adults we don't have challenges with relationships, we do, and how we work through them. And so we can sort of let our kids in here and there on what we're experiencing, and that helps them to learn, well, this is normal, this is natural, and these are things that I can learn to deal with.
Absolutely. And when we support and listen to our children and students, it's good to let them know that they have the right to choose their friends too. So, because they're the ones that are having the friendship, right? So, not everyone is going to be their friend. And that is a really important lesson. And I go back to that. You have your friends, but you still can be friendly, and that's important. But not everyone is going to be your friend, but choose those friends that make you feel good, that you like to have fun with, that show you respect and kindness and care. And as parents and teachers, you can guide that process. You can tell them, you know, what does friendship mean to you? And sometimes young people, they need help with that because they may not know. And it may appear superficial to us as adults, you know, because, you know, oh, I want to be friends with them because they look cool or they dress this way and things like that. But it's about essentially the qualities and the values. And we can, if we can help our children understand that early, then I think that's really critical, and that puts them in really good, in a good position to form solid, enduring friendships in the future as adults. So, yeah, I think that's good. So they can choose. They have the right to choose their own friends, but these are the things you should look for, and that's what I think parents and teachers are instrumental in that, guiding that.
They are. And what you've shared today, the insights you've shared, which is so interesting for us listening to you, me included, is that you're bringing the perspective of the young people who are having the experiences. You are modeling for us how you work with young people, and that real normalization, that real listening, that validation, and that it's okay for us just to be able to sit with a young person who's in distress and say, like you say, that sucks. That's really hard. I know what that feels like. It's really tough. And just to sit with that, we don't have to solve the problem, but there are also a lot of things we can do to help steer them and guide them and help them understand. You are wonderful. And I just know listeners are going to want to know more about you and where they can find you online and connect with you. So where can we send anyone who's looking to connect with you?
So I work for a practice called Lit Therapy. So it's littherapy.com.au. That's our website. So I'm on there. And I must admit, Jodi, the whole socials arena is that causes me a lot of anxiety. I can be really honest about that. And thankfully, I actually have really good, knowledgeable, supportive friends who are there to kind of along the way. So I'm not very active on socials, but I do probably respond to the old snail mail. Not snail mail, sorry, email. That's what I meant.
Yes.
So I do have that. So I can give you my email address if you like. But littherapy.com.au, that's where I work.
Oh, look, thank you so much. And it's quite nice to not be a slave to socials. So enjoy. I don't feel like I'm a slave to it, but I do have friends who are completely off social media, and there's a part of me that sort of feels a little bit of a longing to not be connected to it, because it is something that is such a magnet and can be such a rabbit warren, but also the connections that I've made with so many beautiful people through my online community is really enriches my life and really helps me know that I'm doing work that's making a difference. So it's yes, it can be two sides to the same coin, can't it?
It absolutely.
Yes.
So
Sherri, thank you so much for sharing today with us your insights from your therapy room at Lit Therapy and your expertise from working with counsellors and working with schools, and just really for the wonderful work that you're doing with young people. Anyone who gets to connect with your work is very, very lucky, and we are very thankful for your time and your expertise today.
oh, thank you, Jodi. I feel really fortunate to do what I do. I really enjoy working with young people in the therapy room and out of the therapy room with Zero to Hero and that charity. So thank you again. I think your podcast is very valuable. And the more we can normalise anxiety, I think that's fantastic, because that's what we have to do. We need to drop the struggle with it, and it is a livable condition, and we can strive in spite of it.
We absolutely can. And you have been the picture of that today, because I know that this recording provoked a lot of anxiety within you. And I think it's really helpful for listeners to know that, no matter what role we all play professionally, anxiety is a part of everybody's life, more of a part of some people's lives than others. And Sherri's a clinical psychologist working with people to help them with their own anxiety and mental health and well-being, and is bringing her anxiety with her to do things that are important. So thank you again so much.
Thank you again, Jodi. It's great to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you. And please share this episode with a colleague or a friend if you think that it might be helpful. Thank you so much for your company. I feel like it's such a privilege to be with you. I don't take it for granted for one moment that you listen in to the podcast, and I'm very, very grateful. So thank you so much. You take care, and I will see you next week. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave a review. To keep the conversation going, I'd love you to join me over on Instagram. You'll find me at Dr Jodi Richardson. Also, if you'd like a copy of my free 5-day mini email course, Calm Your Anxious Brain, then jump over to my website, drjodirichardson.com, and you can sign up down the bottom. I've really enjoyed having your company. Thanks so much. See you next time.